Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Luke Stuckmeyer and Cody Del Mendo here. Hopefully Ryan Herrera before the end of the podcast. He'll join us from Wrigley Field, where he is working the clubhouse, getting interviews, and the march to 63. One more step in the right direction.
Hell yeah, man.
One more step. That's what we're
just
playing
nice to
for.
win one, baby.
6-3 over the mighty Nationals without Juan Soto. And this is where we're at.
Gosh.
We will get to the big story of the night as we did a lot of the pregame show about, of course, Jason Heyward, Cubs saying that he will not be back this season, and then they will release him at the end of the season, and he will no longer play in a Cubs uniform. He'll get his $22 million next year and try and find another team. Again, we'll get to that. We know it's going to be a hot topic in the chat and everywhere else. Discuss what that means for the club moving forward. But quickly, let's get through the Cubs win because, as you say, it is nice to just win one every once in a while.
Absolutely, man.
Keegan Thompson, he was coming off that game of 4 2/3, 2 homers, 5 earned runs against the Cardinals. This was a better outing. He didn't have his best stuff, clearly. There was some hard contact against him. But I love seeing him bounce back and fight through it to give you another a good outing that he can, again, build on. That's impressive when a young guy doesn't have his best stuff after a bad outing and he's able to fight through it and still get you a win.
Yeah. I tweeted out the stats from Baseball Savant, analytics guy since May 17th, 2022. Never forget. Basically, meaning I just know how to run Baseball Savant. And, yeah, the hard contact against him today wasn't great. Nelson Cruz just missed one in that 6th inning after Luke Voit hit one out, which Luke Voit, I mean, he has been a Cubs killer this year.
He really has.
Hit a couple homers when he's with the Padres. And, I mean, if you look at his numbers on the season, he hasn't been great. So I'm just like, what is it about the Cubs that makes Luke Voit great?
Star Wars night. Guy named Luke.
Yeah, Luke.
That's it.
Should have bet the homer. Dang it. Anyway, the hard contact was there tonight. I'm looking at it right now. 3 of the 4 hardest hit baseballs tonight were off of Keegan Thompson. The hardest hit baseball tonight, though, was hit by Christopher Morel, who hit a 2-run shot off Anibal Sanchez.
Blew up the Death Star.
Yeah.
Right out of the stadium.
Absolutely.
Scott Crawford says no Cubby shots. We haven't done Cubby Kool-Aid shots since about the first month because after that it just kind of seemed like...
Didn't make sense.
Yeah, it was a little borderline inappropriate.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel right. You're going to have to save that for like 2025, 2026.
Jack says Cody Velasquez, though. Yeah, Nelson Velasquez, 3-hit night, though.
Yeah.
Again, like, we're going to talk about Jason Heyward in a little bit, but... There's a reason that they're doing what they're doing. They got to play Nelson Velasquez every day. I'm asking for Nelson Velasquez to play every single day. This guy's got insane power. We saw tonight with the wind blowing in, hits one out. He's got 2 more hits to go after that. He struck out in a big moment, so whatever. He's young. Like, we just got the whole point. If there's any point to the rest of the season, if there's anything to watch, is to watch players go through the motions of, trying to build their major league careers. So, I mean, I don't know if Nelson Velasquez is going to be part of the next great Cubs team, but I'd rather find out and then move on from him once we find out. But if he doesn't play every day, we're never going to find out fully.
Agree. I would like to see more Velasquez. Jack R. saying Higgins, Velasquez, Morel, Madrigal need to be in there every single day. I don't know if I need to see Higgins every day, but I would like to see the other 3 every day. And you will have to watch. This is one thing that will help David Ross in his lineup. Like, you will like to see Morel play, but you also don't want to overload him with playing time. That's something they talked about in the broadcast, obviously, with Keegan Thompson, that he's never been over 130 innings ever in his career, and he's probably pushing 100 now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to watch him. You don't want him to just totally destroy his arm this season by going too much at one time. And then Ron Coomer pointed out, but you would like to see him try to push through because obviously the overall goal is that he's pitching in the postseason someday where he'd be way over 130 innings. Yeah. So
I'm looking at
it's just progress. It's the first time he's going this far.
Right. I'm looking at Keegan Thompson's Fangraphs page now. I'm pretty sure it's not updated with tonight's stats. So coming into tonight, he had 93 innings pitched.
Right. Yeah. So he's right there around the 100 mark. I think 96 is his all-time high at the professional level.
No. When he was in the minors, the most innings he pitched was 67.
67. So I mean,
he was at high A. Yeah.
Obviously, this is it already.
Yeah.
So again, it's good to see him.
I don't know how many innings he pitched in college, but
but I guess it's way less than that.
Yeah, way less than that.
So this is the most he's ever pitched in a season, and it's good to see him fight through not having the best stuff, still being able to give you a productive night. And I like what I see. They're going to keep an eye on him. Mm-hmm. And, he might skip a couple starts here as they try to slide some guys in toward the end of the season. So you might not see him every single time through the rotation, but they'd like to as long as they can. Mm-hmm. That would be my guess is the way they would answer that. Velasquez and Morel with the 2 homers in this game. And I saw Tony Andracki from Marquee, one of my former coworkers, talking about that. He had an article and he talked to both of them about how they have this bet going about who's going to hit the most home runs. And last year it was Velasquez, so Morel owed him a steak dinner. And I believe it can be minors or in the major leagues this season. So
it's combined.
It's combined, okay. And so Velasquez is up by 1 homer, I believe, this season. And so they've got a pretty good back and forth going, but they're really close. And he was saying. There was a quote from Morel talking about when Velasquez hit his first major league home run, he didn't know who was more excited because he was so excited that they've been through every level. It was like he had hit his first major league home run again. So that was, it's pretty cool to see guys go through that together. And again, you're hoping they're pieces for the future. We don't know. We sit here and we try to predict what Morel's going to be. I mean, he's 22. Mm-hmm. He's a kid.
Yeah, well, he did turn 23.
23 now, yeah.
Yeah, but when he came up,
22.
Still got a lot of growing to go. He had. I don't want to blame him on that error. When the throw to Wisdom didn't catch the ball. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if they called that an error on Wisdom or a throwing error on Morel. But
we had one in the early in the game too, where he threw way high. Like in the first inning, and Wisdom pulled it down and applied the tag. So Wisdom kind of saved him on one.
Okay.
He wasn't spectacular at shortstop tonight, but it's one game.
Yeah. Well, you mean
Morel? He
was at third, I thought.
Third. Yes.
Yeah, because Nico's at
short,
right?
Third.
Yeah.
Yes.
No one else is playing short.
No. Third. I meant third. He's probably a utility guy. That's just a guess. I would agree with that comment from Jack. But he's good enough to be an everyday second baseman. Of course, we'll address that. But if Nico Horner was playing second base, even though he's shown he's a really, really good shortstop, depends on who's available in the free agent market.
Yeah. A
lot of ways they can go. The flexibility's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And, tonight was a good night for just, looking forward to the future. You guys saw a lot of good things. Nico with he had an RBI single tonight hit off former Cubs legend Steve Cishek. Couldn't believe his arm was still attached to his shoulder after what Joe Madden did to him. Him and then, the insurance runs later in the game. Contreras couple hits tonight, which is you always love to see that. I know Hap had the double.
Mickey 2 walks. How about Mickey
Madrigal
2 walks?
2 walks, a bad strikeout. A bunt.
The strikeout was bad.
The strikeout was bad looking with painted there on the edge. Couldn't believe he didn't swing at it considering like he doesn't ever walk. But, again, 2 walks. You will take what we can get from Nick Madrigal. I do think that his at-bats have been better since coming back from Iowa. It's very slow moving up, but I think it's the best we've seen from Nick Madrigal all season. Like, that's how bad it's been. So, maybe he's finally getting healthy. Remember, he was coming off an injury coming into the year. And then, he's been hurt multiple times this year. Maybe he's finally getting healthy. Again, we need to see something from him these last 2 months in order to have any kind of idea about his future.
Agreed. He's got to stay healthy.
So, I mean,
that's one thing.
Right. So, decent night all around from the entire lineup. When you score 6 runs, that's how you get it done. But when you're getting 3 hits out of your 7-hole, Nelson Velasquez, I mean, that's going to get him boosted up in the lineup eventually if he keeps doing it. It was first career 3-hit night, so I won't get too excited about it. But like I said, he's shown the power. He's shown the ability to, drive in runs and stuff like that. It's very, very good to see, and just need more of that. Like the power that him and Morel bring. Like they're gonna, that's been the biggest inconsistency from the Cubs offense all season. It's just who's gonna hit the homers outside of Patrick Wisdom, and I mean,
imagine if Morel hadn't come up.
Right.
Seriously.
Right.
Well, a lot of confidence out there. A lot of people saying, "Oh, they're not going to lose 100."
I sure hope not, man.
DN says no, they may lose 100 still.
Jack says Cubs will win 69. Nice.
Franmil homers. We'll get to him too.
Yeah.
Listen, and the thing with Madrigal, Jack R saying Madrigal's a really good hitter. We were over on the couch watching the game saying, hey, if he walks more, it was just 2 walks in this game, but he makes contact. So if he can walk more, he offers you a little more value than a guy that just gives you a couple slap hits.
Right. Like that his value significantly increases if he could just walk at the major league average.
But continue the contact rate.
Yeah, exactly. If he can hit 300 but also walk at the major league average, he's a very, very solid second baseman. That if he could do that, he would be a very, very solid second baseman. Because the defense, I do think the defense is better than what we were told by the Sox guys coming into the year.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen better defense from him than I expected. But he's not versatile. You can't play him at short. You can't play him at third. Obviously, you're not going to play him at first. And you're not going to DH a guy like that. So he has to play second. So, if he's not versatile and he's not going to hit homers, then if he's going to hit 300, it'd be nice if he could at least walk a little bit too. So to see 2 walks tonight, I think is encouraging. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not out, but I'm not in.
Yeah.
I'm just very much on the line. Like, if he strikes out twice tomorrow, I'm going to be like, I'm out again. But if he, gets a couple knocks and be like, all right, thanks, Sox, But I'm just –
thanks, Sox.
Maybe I can pick a lane by the end of the year. But, right now I'm leaning like I'm out because at the end of the day, the Cubs can go sign a free agent and move Nico back to second, and they can play Morel at third.
They could.
They could
keep Morel in the outfield. Maybe Happ's not extended. We don't know how that's going to play out. And if you sign one of those shortstops that we'll talk about later, maybe one of those guys moves to third and Nico stays at short.
Yeah.
And Morel's at second.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of versatility. And same thing with Madrigal. Madrigal could turn out to be your guy that is just your guy off the bench. You're looking for some contact late in the game.
Right.
He may not be an everyday player.
Yeah. Maybe not.
We'll find out.
We're going to find out.
But that's not why, you don't not sign a guy because you want to see more Madrigal.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can get a great player, you get a great player. Yeah. What were your bets going into this?
I had
By the way, PointsBet shirt tonight.
Yeah, look at Stucky's
shout out
shirt. I have the same PointsBet shirt. It's awesome. It's nice and soft, right?
I'm going to tell you, it's
shout out to our friends at PointsBet for sending them
butter.
To us. My bets tonight, I had a hit parlay that did not hit because Adley Rushman did not get a hit. So if you listen to CHGO Bets Daily, you would know what parlay I'm talking about. So I am still winless in my last 5. It's annoying. Anyway, that's all right, because PointsBet is my favorite app, and it's the best way to support CHGO, guys. And when you download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up, If you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. That's not it. If you make a $50 more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. You even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO Locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free T-shirt from the CHGO Locker, all for making more than or equal to a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, you can email PointsBet at all, chgo.com, and we will help you out. Your home for live in-play betting just got even better. See an edge in the game you're watching. Is your favorite team prime for a comeback? If you live bet the Nationals tonight, well, that was dumb. But I understand if you're hedging your emotions. I get that. But I wouldn't do that for a team that's 20 under, because what's the point? Don't just watch the game. Bet along with it live. More live betting, more live markets, and faster live cash outs. Follow along with your bets the moment they hit and stay in the live action all game long. Download the PointsBet app right now and use promo code CHGO. So what are you waiting for? It's time to elevate your live betting game once the game starts. Don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services.
I got to tell you guys about OWYN, which stands for Only What You Need. OWYN is a 100% plant-based protein shake that gives nutrition to you that works as hard as you do. All the products are free of artificial ingredients, allergen-friendly, no gluten, no dairy, easily digestible. That alone is hard enough to find in anything, let alone something that's really good for you. I first heard about OWYN from Bears quarterback Justin Fields. He follows that plant-based diet. He loves OWYN. And so OWYN and CHGO have partnered up to give you an awesome offer. 20% off your first purchase at liveowyn.com. That's LIVEOWYN.com with the code CHGO20. Join me, Justin Fields, Cody Delmendo, and many other great athletes trying OWYN, only what you need. Joey, have you tried OWYN?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I have not.
Oh,
I've heard nothing but great things from almost everybody in the office.
See what you're missing? Joey's, he plays on the softball team.
I haven't worked out in a while, though. It's my own fault if I.
Yeah, but like plant-based diet, that's not going to hurt you regardless of where you're working out or not. It sounds like
you're right. You're right, Saki. Are you on the plant-based diet?
I have tried it. You know what I'm on? I am on the AG1, and so it's a balance of which one am I able to. I don't have time for both, so I'm working on the AG1 right now. But I have tried OWYN, and it does give you a little boost too, just like the AG1. It's just slightly different stuff. It's a protein shake. One is more like a vitamin supplement, basically.
If Justin Fields told me to drink motor oil directly out of my car, I would do it. So
you would do it?
I would do it. So, and Nick Moriano too. So those two guys, well, I would drink it every day. I haven't yet, but I would.
Would you drink bleach, though? That's the question.
Well, sometimes the Cubs make me think about it.
No, don't say it. Don't say it. We are not legally responsible for that comment.
Yeah, don't do that, please.
Do not drink bleach.
I see a Cardinal fan in the comments. I'd just like to let you know that more people talk about Yadi Molina than they do Nelson Cruz. And I looked up Nelson Cruz's stats tonight, and he is significantly better than Yadi Molina has ever been in his entire career. Thank you, and please get out of the chat. Thank you.
He is a better hitter than Yadi Molina, no question about it.
Yeah. Please don't leave the chat. You can now respond and probably just share me in the chat. That's fine, too.
So the big news, obviously, going into this game, and frankly surprising news, because is of course Jason Heyward, knee's not progressing. Jed Heyward said he will not be back this season. He'll be around the team because they like what he brings in the clubhouse and being around the young guys. There's value there. At the end of the season, they don't see him as part of the team because they would like to see what they've got in the outfield. They've got to play some guys. And so Jason Heyward will be let go at the end of the season, and he'll be able to search for another team, and they will pay him his $22 million that's left on his 8-year deal. I was surprised because I think my belief was that if they hadn't done it to this point, they weren't going to do it this season. I thought there was a real good chance he wasn't going to be on the team next season, but I thought that they might still bring him back at some point this season. Once it dragged on this long. but apparently the knee's not doing well, and I don't know if that's a cover. Well. I don't know if that's a cover or what, but he's not going to play. Some people are getting what they've been asking for at least 2+ years.
Yeah, it feels like it.
You know, I know there's multiple ways to look at Jason Heyward's Cubs career. There's no way to say that on the field it was super successful. You know?
Yeah.
But not for a lack of trying, not because he's a bad guy, not because he was a bad teammate. They gave him a big contract. It didn't work out financially. It happens. That's why you see teams not wanting to give 8-year deals to guys.
Yeah.
You know, I liked the deal when he signed. I also liked the Soriano deal when he signed. Soriano injuries were a huge part of it. I don't know that injuries were a huge part of Jason Heyward.
No, not really.
He just never lived up to that hype on the field.
You thought let me take you back to the winter of 2015. Yeah, the winter of 2015. Jason Heyward coming off his best season of his career with the Cardinals. The Cardinals offered him more money, and he still chose the Cubs. And you thought you were getting a guy who, you know, was a contact hitter who had potential to be a 20 to 30 home run guy, you know, got on base a lot, and, you know, just was a crazy athlete.
Yeah.
And was a really good defensive outfielder, which at the time the Cubs desperately needed better defense in the outfield because they had Kyle Schwarber, Jorge Soler, and Dexter Fowler in the outfield. And obviously, like, people still talk about Kyle Schwarber's defense in left field.
Heyward was Gold Glover.
Yeah. And Jorge Soler is more of a DH. I'm pretty sure he DHs more than he ever has ever since the Cubs traded him to the Royals. So, like, I'm not justifying it. I'm not justifying how much money he got. I'm just saying that, like, the people who go back and are like, I can't believe we paid this guy this and that. I was like, well, he literally was exactly what the Cubs needed going into 2016. And he was coming off the best year of his career, and he was one of the top prospects when he came up, and had shown flashes of being a really solid 5-tool player. Like, and he was 26.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they signed a 32-year-old guy to a 10-year deal or like Albert Pujols when he was 30 and you know, is getting DFA'd at, you know, 37, 38 years old by the Angels. Like, they signed a guy that they thought was going to be in the prime of his career.
He was. That was their comment. I remember like when they signed him was, this guy doesn't come available very often.
Right.
A young, only 26 and trending up. Like, that guy doesn't become available to a lot of teams.
Right.
So in that way, I liked the move.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, of course, everyone doesn't like it, but I think that's why when I look back at like all of Theo Epstein's, like, you know, good and bad moves, like, yeah, in hindsight, the Heyward move was bad, but when they made it at the time, like, it was the best move. It was a sign that the Cubs were serious about contending for a World Series in 2016. It was a sign that, hey, we're going to go out and get the best player on the market. He was the best player available on the market in the winter of 2015.
And you took him from a rival in your division.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again, in hindsight, it sucks. I think that my thing with Heyward is, at this point, you know, he was a really good dude, great in the community. Like, his teammates loved him. He was a leader in the clubhouse, like you kind of said. And, you know, he just did not hit enough. That's at the end of the day, he just did not hit enough for the Cubs when they were, you know, in their window. And he, you know, now he apparently can't stay healthy, and he doesn't hit still. So there were still some decent years in there. I thought 2018, 2019, 2020 were, you know, solid. Were they worth the money that he was making? No, but they were still solid years. And, you know, I'm sticking up for him, but at the same time, if you want me to push back, it's, you know, I kind of said this on the pregame show. If Jason Heyward had lived up to the contract and was still living up to that contract and going into his last year, perhaps the Cubs aren't in this situation right now, because if they got what they really thought they're going to get out of Jason Heyward in the 2018 season and in the 2019-2020 seasons, perhaps maybe those teams went further in the playoffs. Maybe some things different happened. Maybe the Cubs are able to trade him and actually get some value, or even though that he had a no trade clause, or maybe he opts out of his contract, like his contract was loaded with player opt-outs, and he never opted out because there was no reason for him to opt out, because he did not. He knew he wasn't going to make more money. So, again, in hindsight, it all sucks.
I knew Michael was going to come on the chat tonight and say something, and sure enough, he says, "I'm a good dude, help the community, and I can't hit either." I'm not defending that they were playing him over guys that should have been getting playing time early in the season. That bothered me too. He clearly was not part of the future going forward. That was a mistake by the Cubs. I don't know if it was out of loyalty because they didn't show loyalty. Forget about all that stuff. I'm just saying about his contract in general. Going in, I was okay with it. It shows you that it can be a dangerous thing to sign free agents. And by the way, it can also show you that prospects don't always develop. Even the best ones don't always develop. The surefire guys don't always develop into superstar players.
Oh, yeah. He was called up super early in his career.
I was at his major league debut in Atlanta with the Cubs, and he homered off Zambrano, and the people in Atlanta where he's from were going crazy around the stadium, and it was like he was going to be the next Mike Trout. Like he was going to be the next great player at that time. And he just never really reached that level. But again, I'm angry about players that accept the money from like an 8-year deal and then dog it for 8 years after they get their contract. That's the guy you really want to avoid signing a contract to. Somebody that takes the money and takes advantage of it.
Yeah.
That's not Heyward.
Pablo Sandoval is a great example. Yeah.
Lil Yumper.
Great example.
Excuse me.
Lil Yumper, super chat. Jed's comments on J-Hay's situation and future were very interesting. Makes it seem like they might do something in the offseason. Dare I say there is hope. He's ready to be hurt again.
Yeah. Nick G says Albert Almora was a first rounder. Yeah, I agree with that. But like Jason Heyward was like one of the top prospects in baseball. When he made his debut, it was like, here's Jason Heyward.
Again, free agent at 26.
Yeah.
That's all that's all I really need to say, because most free agents or most guys go into free agency, at the earliest, like 28, 20, 29.
Yeah.
And he was 26, I'm pretty sure, when he was a free agent. So, it's
Joey, do you have the quote from Jed Hoyer that we used earlier today?
On Heyward?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second.
Again, I'm a little surprised that it happened, but at least there is some transparency here that this is what we're doing. Jed's saying, I've talked to Jason about this, and he's been such a great pro with us and a leader, and we want to give him we want to have him around the team this year, but we're not going to have him with the team next year. We already talked to him about that. We want to give him the full offseason to be able to go out, find an opportunity. And I think for us, given where we are as a group and where we're going to likely be in the corner outfield next year with Seiya and Ian, I think we're going to move in a different direction. So, that part's interesting to me. I know there was a lot of feedback on Twitter saying, hey, Ian, this could mean he gets an extension. I don't know. He threw the word likely in there, and I don't think that was by accident either.
Yeah.
That was strategically placed in there instead of just saying we've got our corner outfield guys next year. And I don't know that not being able to trade Hap influenced this decision to be made this year, but it certainly if Hap is not a part of their future no matter what, it did create a little bit of an extra crunch in the outfield where they're trying to play these guys. Yeah. And that's really what this is about.
Right. Cardinal fan in chat again. He says, Heyward was not the best player in the market in 2015. Please do your research. I'll start doing my research when you spell his name right. Thanks. So, again,
boom, roasted.
Yeah. Boom goes the dynamite.
as far as what Jed said, I do appreciate the transparency, like you said. I do feel like in recent days he has been more transparent about some things. Well, the trade deadline, I feel like you can you can argue that, because some people like you think that that they misplayed their hand.
I don't know if I think that, but I think it's a better possibility that that's what happened than not.
Than them not trading them because they wanted to keep them. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. If outside of that, I do feel like that in recent interviews he's been transparent. When he was on the Score the other day, I thought he was open and honest about a lot of things. So
he did go on also to say, for this year, I love having him around. He provides real leadership. He's a great sounding board for the guys. Jason and I have talked a lot about where things are going in the future, and I think for next year we're not going to have him as part of the team. We'll go our separate directions. I'm just curious. I don't know. Do you see him getting I can't really see him going anywhere and getting a lot of at-bats unless it's a team that isn't looking to compete or signing with a contender as a potential, veteran defensive replacement. And
I think you'll get a look from somebody, and here's why. Andrelton Simmons got a look.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. Okay, he can't even hit.
Yeah, right.
He can't even
13 hits this year.
And Heyward, some team would see value in, at the very least, having Jason Heyward compete and be around young guys at spring training. So I do think there's at least – he may not end up making a team next year. But remember, Albert Almora, he's younger, but he's still getting a look with the Reds. Saw he made a nice catch in the game, and he somewhat blames the Cubs for what happened. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's on a team at least one more. At a very small contract, he's not going to make $22 million from that team.
No. But he's shown, he's proven about as much as you can to be a guy where even if he's not contributing where you would like on the field, he's really valuable in a locker room. Like we saw in Game 7 of the World Series. I mean, part of it's probably, a little bit of Cubs lore at this point, but that's, there's some value there, at least as a veteran guy, and who knows?
I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers pick him up and they fix him. So,
can you imagine if he started hitting for another team? Cubs fans would lose. First of all, he's no longer the Gold Glove outfielder, but that doesn't mean he's a bad outfielder now. He's just not the level outfielder he used to be. Boy, that'd be stunning.
I mean, Joey Gallo was hitting terribly with the Yankees this year, and he's already made a little bit of an impact with the Dodgers. The dude was hitting like 160.
Well, it helps to have great hitters all around you.
He had great hitters all around him in New York.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying, what the Dodgers do, they bring Max Muncy and Justin Turner are great examples of just bringing in random dudes and fixing them. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers are like, hey, Jason, you want to come out to spring training next year and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Get old Brant Brown hitting coach in there and see what they can do.
Brant
I don't
Brown,
know.
Wow.
He really is the coach for the Dodgers. It's
he can work with pitching coach Mark Pryor.
Yeah, just former coach.
Joey, I was going to ask you, we mentioned it in pregame. $184 million, is it worth it for the world? If his speech did impact them settling down in the rain delay and all that stuff, would the
I would pay him $500 million for his contributions. If you say that the speech officially did something, then yes, then the whole contract and 20 years from now, we're not going to be talking about his 240 batting average in 7 years with the Cubs. We'll still talk about the 17-minute rain delay though. In my opinion, it's not even a question. Just like it's the same idea as, do you trade Chapman for Gleyber Torres? You do it every time because you have to get the monkey off your back, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it was, you're never going to know. Mm-hmm. All I know is they won the World Series after the speech. If he doesn't make the speech, I can't tell you what the result is.
If he doesn't make the speech
it's an expensive
and they don't
speech.
win, I can't. I don't think he's still on the Cubs at this point. I think he's been off the Cubs for several years at this point, and I think the entire feelings towards him from the fan base are drastically different. Just because that has been the one thing that everybody can point to and say, well, he gave the speech. He did his part. If that never happened,
I don't know if the Cubs think that. I do think they value the leadership and who he was. And all of those things, like a great guy in the community. and they were trying to make it work. It just didn't quite work to the level they were hoping it would. That would earn $184 million.
Yeah, he had good moments. I mean, I think I said in pregame the walk-off grand slam. I think that was in 2018.
He was good in 2020.
Yeah, and I thought he was good in 19 and was okay in 18 too. Again, none of those years equaled to the value of his contract, but still, he wasn't awful like he has been this year and last year. But yeah, the walk-off grand slam, the speech, and then he hit a homer in 2020 off Josh Hader in the late innings of a game in Milwaukee. That was pretty cool.
Right, it's just like for $184 million, we shouldn't be going back and thinking like, oh yeah, he had that one homer against Josh Hader.
Yeah,
and that was cool. Like it was it was disappointing, but it was
a Gatorade shot. Here's what I'll say.
We all know that, but
here's the thing about the speech. Like people say, it's a speech. You don't know if it did this. That was the most pressure-packed rain delay in the history of baseball. Like there's never been. First of all, we were worrying for decades about whether or not when the Cubs finally got there, if the moment would be too big and they would just fall flat on their face because of all of the expectations. People said 108 years didn't matter, and then teams would go through it, and you get 0-3, and Bartman touches the ball, and they just shrivel up, and nothing happens. People were worried about that happening again, like, oh, no, we really are jinxed. All of that nonsense. But it really did factor into players feeling the pressure of we've got to be the ones to do this. So you had this young group coming in, and when you go into that rain delay, I'm just telling you, there was a good chance that they were going to sphincter up and not play well coming out of that. The rain delay happened, and somebody had to say something, and sure, guys were saying the right thing, but every player in there has said, Heyward is the one that put it all together and said we go out to play and have fun, stop worrying about all this other stuff, go out and play the game. I can't sit here and say that's the reason they won the World Series, but it's not the reason they lost the World Series.
And 100%, none of us were in the locker room, and what I remember from that crazy 20 minutes or so, every player that was interviewed on Fox after that game, the first thing they said about the rain, they said Jason Heyward, every single player. And when they interviewed him, just how calm and collected he was after the game. I just got to remind these guys who we've been all season. And it's hard to believe that it would have gained this, lore around it and become such a big moment in Cubs history if it wasn't a legit special moment for all the guys in there. And we all, Tom Verducci has an amazing recollection of, what happened inside the weight room that this all went down in. And as Cubs fans would be lucky one day to ever see a video or see, some of the things that were said, but it truly to me is like one of the craziest moments in any sport history to imagine. Just to imagine, if I could be a fly on the wall for any moment in Chicago sports history, that is so high up on the list. I just with all the emotions and the history, it will forever be indebted to Heyward one way or another, at least for that part of it.
Tiny little weight room, about twice the size of this carpet, nothing little weight room, and you cannot tell the story of the 2016 World Series champion Cubs without that speech in it. The story can't be told without that speech. So, and like Joey said, instantly everybody talked about it afterwards. And remember, again, that's a team that had an MVP on it, a former World Series MVP, a current World Series MVP in Ben Zobrist, but that's not necessarily his personality, I don't think, to be the guy giving the speech. Mm-hmm. Rizzo was young and wasn't the guy to give the speech. Chris Bryant was a league MVP, too quiet, didn't make that also became a problem down the line when Heyward wasn't that player they had hoped he'd be, that he was the leader. He was the guy that everybody would listen to because people still, whether he was playing a big role or not, people respected Jason Heyward. So it was the right guy at the right time to give the speech. So
yeah,
I'm not saying it was worth $184 million for the product that he put on the baseball field, but he wasn't a slacker out there.
No, definitely not.
So I don't understand the hate that has gone toward Jason Heyward as much as some other guys that have certainly gone through the Cubs. Now, as they signed or they picked up Franmil Reyes. We'll see if he is one of the guys that takes some of the at-bats with Heyward not going to be around. Mm-hmm. And then the other story from today is that Ken Rosenthal jumped in on something that was said earlier in the season about free agent shortstops, and we've had a lot of talk about that. And he says the Cubs have to get one of those 4 guys, and that he believes as well they will get one of those big 4 free agents at shortstop: Bogaerts, Correa, Trey Turner, Dansby, Swanson.
Right.
What do you make of the comment?
He said that on his podcast from The Athletic, and they were talking about the trade deadline aftermath. And when he got to the Cubs, honestly, when I listened to it, I almost wanted to throw up because it was like, it just sucked to hear, but also like agree with him in terms of just what he thought about the Cubs, aftermath deadline and like the state of the organization. Mm-hmm. But he straight up said that a lot of the reason the Cubs haven't spent is because of ownership. And I know a lot of fans, at least in the chat I read all the time, are saying that, this, that, all these excuses and stuff. And I've never really fully given Ricketts the full on, like, he's like, I'm not giving him the Michael Collada treatment, but I've always said that there's a lot of
Michael, you've earned that.
The timing is always right. The timing always has to be perfect when it comes to spending big dollars. But yeah, Ken said that they need to spend on one like big this offseason because of all these different scenarios and stuff, especially in the division that they're in is another reason that he added. So yeah, and I only wanted to point that out just for anyone who was wondering what we were talking about in terms of what we found the source. So Bogaerts, Correa, Trey Turner, Dansby, Swanson. I mean, we've talked about before. Correa is younger. Bogaerts, he was.
I can't believe it's hard to believe that Correa is the youngest out of that group.
Yeah, Bogaerts he's pretty high on my list since being with the Red Sox and the Cubs' relationship with the Red Sox and how they've, gotten guys from, or their front office has history of, scouting those guys earlier in their careers. Trey Turner, I feel like he might go back to the Dodgers, to be honest. Dansby Swanson's interesting. This is like his really big breakout season. He's been a very good player, but I think this is like his first really big season. I could be wrong about that. I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Will the Heyward deal make them gun shy on going too far in one of these contracts? Too long?
It shouldn't.
I care more about the years than I do about the money, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, do I want to give an 8-year?
We just saved all this money.
Right. Do I want to give an 8-year deal to a baseball player?
It's a long time.
Not really, because at the end of the day, you're probably only gonna get like half. Like, if you get someone who hits, half of those years will probably be like elite level play. But I do feel like doing that, making that move, kind of sets the tone for your franchise for the present in terms of the next 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. And a Bogaerts or a Correa or a Swanson or a Turner can completely change the entire Cubs organization in a positive direction if you add them in with Nico Horner up the middle.
If one of those guys says, all things are equal, I'll take your deal, but I have to play short, does it make you think about one of the other guys?
I don't think
because of the season Nico's had?
I don't think it should. No.
I personally don't think it should either. Yeah. Also, once you get him here, you can make him play whatever you want.
Yeah.
I just being honest. I know there was a lot of talk about Manny Machado when he was going to be available, and it was like, well, Manny's got to play this or this.
He plays third. He's played third base like his entire career with the Padres, and he was like a shortstop.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's why I say, like, I wouldn't let the position those 4 guys play influence whether or not I sign them. They're good baseball players. Cubs got to collect good baseball players. That means Nico moves it. That means they move.
Yeah.
And that can be decided later in my eyes.
That said, Nico Hoerner has definitely earned the spot to play shortstop. You know how Stroman's came in? He freaking said that Kyle Hendricks should still start opening day.
Yes, but Kyle Hendricks has started Game 7. Kyle Hendricks had been here a long time. Nico has had a good
4 months.
A good half of a season. Yeah, a good 4 months, right. So it's like, I don't want to knock what he's done. He's been the best surprise of the season. Mm-hmm. He's been the biggest plus in my eyes for what the Cubs have had this season.
Right.
But I wouldn't not sign Xander Bogaerts because of it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely not something that you don't sign a guy because of. You just gotta get the guy who's willing to play all over the infield. Honestly, a guy like Correa and Bogaerts, to me, are guys who could play short or second base. So, it's not like the Cubs are going to throw the same lineup out there every day. You know what I mean? But you gotta. Clearly, the Cubs are trying to get more versatile guys in there so they can have different lineups and shit like that. And I'm okay with that because we saw through the golden era that that led to success. So we're going to see, man.
Jack R saying Nico is the best defensive shortstop. That might be the case, and then I would keep him there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if it comes down to it and a guy would say, I'll come here, but I need to play short, if it's one of those 4 guys, I would have a conversation with Nico and be like, so do you want Xander Bogaerts, or are you going to mail it in? First of all, that's not going to be Nico.
Yeah.
The competitive side of him wants to be the shortstop, but I also think he wants to win a World Series. So, Joey, was there a super chat that we missed earlier in the show? Maybe Lil Yumper?
Yeah, I thought we got to Lil Yumpers.
We read that one. Was there another one, or am I imagining that one?
I thought it was just
okay. I just want to make sure we didn't.
Lil Yumpies today.
Somebody pays for the super chat. I want to make sure they get their super chat.
Right. We care about the people. Except for this Cardinals fan. Sorry, bro. But thank you for being here.
But if you spend on a super chat, we'll read your comment.
Yeah. Yes. Send us $25. I'll read your comment.
The Cardinals fan BGDN LSD says John Madden abused Chapman. No speech was ever needed.
John Madden.
Rest in peace.
That's so Cardinals fan. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And Michael says Ricketts wants to find a free agent who can make a speech. Yep.
That's so Michael Collada, very on brand. Anyway.
So how would you rank those 4 guys?
Well, Correa just at the top just because he's younger. Then I go
Agreed.
Bogaerts. And then
Correa, Bogaerts.
And then I probably lean Turner over Swanson just because Turner has more success.
Yeah, and I don't know the age difference between those 2 guys.
Yeah, I don't know the age
Turner and
difference
Swanson. But I honestly, if you added any of the 4, you've made your team better. Period. I'm not saying where you play him, but one of those 4 guys is in your lineup next season, you're a better team because of it.
Yeah. I think Swanson and Turner are more likely to stay with their teams, but I think Bogaerts or Correa could easily be on a different team next year. Yeah. More so Correa out of the 4. Bogaerts, who knows? He might not even opt out. He has to opt out of his contract with Boston to even for us to even think about it. It's just everyone just kind of assumes it's going to happen. And as we've seen, Luke, assuming things just doesn't work.
No, it does not. I mean, I would love to see Correa take a similar deal to what he just took with the Twins. Maybe he makes a little more per season, but it's not guaranteed way down. There's a chance he'd be here for a year or 2 and leave, or he's there for a year, leave. You'll find out what he's like.
Yeah. Who knows?
The window, in my eyes, has been pushed a little bit further back than what I think some people were hoping. And I know not everybody wants to hear that, but even if you sign one of these guys, I'm not sure a World Series window is open. Can you be competitive in this division? Yes, that's what was frustrating about this offseason. If you really wanted to be competitive, you could have, but they are starting to find some things out about some of these guys.
Yeah. They should be able to compete in this division next year, though.
Yes.
If you sign a shortstop, and I still say they need to sign a top tier number one starter. But even if they just sign a proven arm that has shown,
even if it was Carlos Rodon and he was your number 2 or whatever,
right. If they signed
I guess
Rodon,
you'd consider Rodon your 1, but I'd be fine if you considered him your 2 or whatever too. So
someone like that, yes. If you do those two things, then you have I would say you have a good shot to compete in the NL Central.
Sounds like Ryan Herrera's almost ready to join us here. So if you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us continue to grow is download the PointsBet app. Use the code CHGO when you sign up. Not only do you get those 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you get the free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. You'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. Any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up available in Illinois. You can download that PointsBet app right now. Register your account start to finish, all from your phone. Signing up with the fastest sports book. It's easier than ever. Start living your bet life in seconds. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And again, very soft T-shirts, too, if you're lucky enough to get the swag.
Oh, yeah.
And we're lucky enough to get Ryan Herrera's content.
Yeah, we are lucky enough. Ryan, do you
there's Ryan. There he is.
Have you seen that Dylan Cease shirt?
I did. The size Cease.
Does it hurt you as much as it hurts me?
I think it's cool because I'm gonna hype up our good buddy Eric from DNVR. We gotta let him know that it looks cool.
It definitely looks cool.
It definitely looks cool.
But we're still sad about it, for sure, also.
I'm still sad about it, and I told people that if they love my misery, they should buy it. So I hope at least 50 shirts are being bought because they want to see my misery. They want to live in my misery. So
there you go.
Joel Martinez is pointing out the nice flannel, Ryan. I'm wondering, has the Hawaiian already been replaced by the flannel? Is summer gone?
It feels like it, man. It's like 670. Is it below 69 degrees right now? Nice. But yeah, no, it's cold. Wind's blowing straight back at the press box today. It wasn't the Hawaiian kind of day. It doesn't feel like, and it's only August 8th, so I don't know.
You know it's going to be like humid and miserable tomorrow now.
Yeah, right. It'll be back. It'll be back before the summer's over.
Sure.
So, how much talk was Heyward? Was that all before the game, or were players talking about that after the game as well?
I mean, the Heyward, the Jed kind of broke that news, so we didn't. That was well after Clubhouse closed. Pre-game, post-game, not a lot of players in there. We got Nico. Nico kind of talked about how big Jason Heyward was kind of since he's debuted in 19. He talked about how like him and Jason are a couple of the few players that actually stay in Chicago in the off season. So they train together, and he's like, that's a friendship Nico is going to have, even though Heyward has likely, I think we could say he's played his last game as a Cub. That Nico said like that's a friendship that's gonna last past the end of the season, past next season, past whatever. That's a thing. And then we didn't get there weren't a ton of players in the Clubhouse post game, but it's just I think just talking to players throughout the season, talking to David Ross, talking to Jed today, they all understand that obviously Heyward hasn't performed this season. Last season struggled as well, but they all love Jason Heyward. They all will always talk about how big of a leader, how much he means to them, how much he means to the city, outside of just baseball. They always talk about that, and that's I don't think it's just kind of blowing smoke either. Like they truly appreciate what Jason Heyward does off the field. On the field, again, obviously struggles. And doesn't perform the way that someone with that big of a contract should, but just off the field stuff, he means so much. And that's why sometimes when you look at you understand in the baseball sense of when people call for him, being released or DFA'd, whatever it is. I mean, you get it because of the frustration of him not performing. But at the same time, there's a lot of different things that goes into that and goes into who he is outside of, or off the field, that maybe just doesn't resonate with everyone. Maybe that's the right way to put it. Like, just people, not everyone thinks about the whole totality of it. But yeah, no, that's kind of basically what today was as soon as Jed kind of dropped that pipe bomb on us, that was, it became like Cubs Twitter blew up is kind of the way it ended.
Well, I think most people thought that if it hadn't happened at this point in the season, that it might not happen this season. That it was most likely, something that might happen in the off season, but it wasn't going to happen during the season. So I was caught by surprise that they announced it, this shortly after the trade deadline. And I agree that I haven't heard a bad word about Jason Heyward from a teammate or really from any fan that's ever interacted with him. Sometimes, by the way, playing for that big contract is hard mentally on guys. And I don't know if that's ever really been mentioned with Jason Heyward. I know Lester talked about it early in his career with the Cubs. Like, you want to live up to that money. And, he's done other things in the community, but sometimes that's not the easiest thing. And don't get me wrong, it's something I'd like to see if I could do, like, and like anybody would say that, like, you'll hear that from everybody. I'll take $184 million and the criticism. It's not the easiest thing. It's not the easiest thing to perform and do his job. I've just never heard that mentioned. I just think baseball's a tough sport, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. This case on the field didn't.
Yeah, you hear people talk about like how much he works, how much time he puts in off the field to really live up to the contract, right? To really prove that he was worthy at least somewhat of that contract, and how it just didn't translate, right? But there's no one that we've talked to, no one that's talked about Jason Heyward that will say, anyone outworks him, because everyone talks about how he comes to the field every day. He's always there putting in the work. He's always, helping teach young guys, young players how to work at this level. And it didn't translate on the field, obviously. There's no question about that. The work he puts in off the field didn't translate. But like you said, Luke, there's no questioning his work ethic as a player, just as a human being, and that's separate from his on the field results, I'd say.
I just saw your tweet, Ryan, that Frank Schwindel was optioned to AAA.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, he was post game. Option to AAA.
How about that?
Pour one out. I hope he's riding middle seat on his way to Des Moines.
Another night. Wow, that was cold. That was cold, Del Mendo.
Was it cold? It's just a funny story that we'll be telling our kids about.
You're right. It's just a joke.
Hey, me, Del
Frank.
Del Mindo.
Frank is someone that will, you know how we mention Brian LaHair, like when we think about the first rebuild. Frank will be that guy.
He's a better story.
When the Cubs are finally good again, we'll be like, remember the good old days, Frank Schwindel. Remember how he hung out at Murphy's drinking Miller Lights? Like, that guy was a dude.
Well, but that's another. They're trying to free up the infield.
But yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to free up the infield a little bit, free up the outfield. Yeah. And we saw today why it's important to free up that spot with Jason Heyward. Like Cody was saying at the beginning of the podcast, Velasquez bats, and we need to see that. We need to see if the guy can hit home runs. We need to see if he can be a consistent hitter at the major league level. After all, it's about exploring, guys. It's all about exploring the last 2 months.
I'm going to assume that this clears up a spot for Reyes tomorrow.
Could.
So for anyone who's like, is Matt Mervis on the way?
I don't think it's Mervis this season.
Speaking of this question from Joe Martinez, is it Matt Mervis time, Flannel Jesus? I think that's you, Ryan.
No, it's not Matt Mervis time, and I don't think I don't see a real scenario. I mean, I guess I see a scenario, but I don't think it should be the expectation that Matt Mervis comes up at all this season. I don't believe he's Rule 5 eligible. If I've looked at it correctly, I don't think he is. While there are plenty of other guys that are. So it's going to take a lot of quick learning about some of those guys before Matt Mervis kind of makes his way up here. I think Again, Franmil Reyes claimed off waivers earlier today. No move was made to open an active roster spot for him officially, but obviously Frank getting options to AAA does. So I think you kind of do the math. That's probably the move that'll come tomorrow. Franmil Reyes, a guy that hit 30 home runs last year. I want to say
he did.
Yep.
He has pop in that bat, which the Cubs don't have a ton of it. He's had a couple good seasons in the past. He's cheap. It's a low risk move. I think they have the potential to just non-tender him at the end of the season if things don't work out. So I don't think this was a bad move in any sense. I think you're taking. It's kind of like you're exploring, Luke. You're exploring what Franmil Reyes can do in a different situation, right?
Yeah, it's just a quick roll of the dice, see what happens. I wouldn't expect huge things out of it, but if it does, great. You catch lightning in a bottle. Should we take care of who you got?
Yeah, I'd love to take care of who you got.
Yeah, Cody feels pretty good about it. Now, each guy had a decent night. Uh-huh.
I'm going to say this. In honor of what, went down today, I think Joey wins. I would give Joey my vote.
Trying to give Joey the win for taking Heyward?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think so too, Ryan.
We can let the chat decide.
Now he doesn't get another chance to do it. So now we know for sure. He's been picking Heyward every game all season, relatively.
Yeah,
I think Joey takes his one.
Considering I'm one behind Cody now, I don't want to feel like I'm cheating in any way, shape, or form. So we can let the chat decide, or however you want to do it.
I would feel different if we're talking about Wilson Contreras.
Oh, okay.
Or Ian Happ. But we're talking about Jason Heyward. So I do not agree with Ryan's idea here.
Seat's getting a little too hot, isn't it?
That's going to be a no for me, dog.
Yeah, says the guy that didn't even make a pick on Friday.
That's right.
Yeah,
he regrets that. He feels my hot breath on his neck now.
Yeah, wait, did he add the points?
There's been days that you forgot to pick. At least we gave you a pick.
I always pick.
No, there's been days that you haven't made a pick, and you know what we've done? We've made a pick for you.
Yes, and
you guys didn't even make a pick for me. You could have gave me Heyward on Friday.
I would have given you Heyward. I would have done that. Actually, usually my move is to give whoever doesn't pick Andrelton Simmons. That's no longer
right
possible. But you might just get Andrelton Simmons still, even though he's not on the team.
Who does that player now become for the person that forgets to make a pick? Because it was VR.
It was
okay.
VR.
Then it was Simmons or Heyward.
I think Daniel Norris was in there a few times.
Daniel Norris may have been in there, but it can't be Schwindel anymore. So now who is the player that now gets designated as the player chosen if you forget to make a pick? That's a tough call.
Yeah, because there isn't anyone that's just like.
I think Ryan is just dying to pick Yan Gomes.
Like maybe Yan Gomes.
It might be Franmil.
Yeah, Franmil Reyes. He does have a minus WAR this year, so.
Somebody says Madrigal.
Madrigal.
Ortega's not good.
2 walks tonight, brother. 2 walks.
Yeah, Nicky, 2 walks.
And he had a great game on Friday. He nearly won me who you got on Friday.
Nicky,
2 walks, 2 hits.
Nicky 8 balls, like Sylvie said on Twitter. Shout out to you.
Speaking of which, did Cody add our points from Friday?
I did.
He's added.
I've added him.
Yeah.
Luke is in second place. He has 15, and you have 12.
I can tell you what, this is heating up. This is bigger than the race to 63.
Oh yeah.
Nothing is bigger than the race to 63. You got to figure
man. We should get Jake Bunowski and Bleacher Jeff to start holding up signs for who's in front.
Yeah, right. Oh, Joel says Rowan Thick. As in Rowan Wick. He spelled thick.
I guess he is gigantic.
Yeah.
Well, your guy had a home run and a hit. Yeah. Ryan's guy had an RBI, right? My guy had a double.
Yeah.
It's you win. You win. I can't give it to Heyward. I can't make that decision. If the chat wants to wholeheartedly say Heyward, then that would be a different decision. It's out of my hands.
I did my best, Joey.
Like Kevin Malone says, it's just nice to win one, fellas.
Speaking of which, Marcus Stroman goes tomorrow, correct?
I believe so.
Game 2 of the series on Tuesday. The Cubs have 9 games. This was the first of 9 games they play in a row against the Nationals and the Reds. Do we want to make any picks? How many are they going to win of those 9 games?
Against the Nationals?
Nationals, Reds, Nationals. 9 straight games.
Oh, man.
How many?
I'll go they win 7, which brings it down to, I think, 14 in the race for
21.
For 60
for 63.
For 63, yeah. I think that's what it would be.
Wow. I got to tell you, if they win 7 of 9, Cody might get back on them. Well, wait a minute. We could get back to 500 if we go on a run here.
No, I'm not Brendan, all right? You guys want to throw me in that realm with Brendan. That's not true. I just like to think optimistically, all right?
That's right.
Let me be me, okay?
Let me be me.
Yeah.
We should give that.
Cody, what was
Just
Cody's
let me be me.
preseason? What was Cody's preseason record prediction?
87.
87
wins. I was actually thinking about that just now. I'm curious to see if the Cubs won every game from here on out. I still think they would only be at 94 wins.
I can't do the math.
Yeah.
I can't off the top of my head, but it's not that much higher than 87.
Well, if they hit 63, that means, if I'm doing the math correctly, they would still need 24 more wins to match Cody's predicted total, right? Yeah.
That math's pretty simple.
Michael's saying they're going to win 3 out of 9. Charlie's taking 5 or 6.
Rickett says 2.5, according to Michael.
I think it's 9 games, not 10, though, right? I think
it's 9. Well, it's 9 including tonight.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I believe so.
So they've already won the one.
They've won one. You got a freebie there if you're picking.
I just can't believe you all have to, you just have to bring up 87 win.
I'm going to say
again.
I'm going to say 5 of 9.
I'll go 6 of 9.
Because they're going to lose to the Reds. They'll probably get swept by the Reds. Watch.
I wouldn't be surprised. The Reds are playing well right now.
Didn't they lose the Field of Dreams game?
No, I think they blow out the Reds in the Field of Dreams game. National TV, we're back.
Maybe the Field of Dreams game should count as 2, so it's just picking out of 10, because it is such an epically big game, such a matchup,
such a game. You can't wait.
Anything else?
Has been waiting.
Anything else, Ryan? Before we sign off, anything big from the David Ross or Jed Hoyer or anybody?
Well, I mean, Lucas had this question: is Miley making another rehab start in Iowa this week?
Mm-hmm.
So just a quick update. I think he threw a light bullpen session today, and then I think they're looking at sending him on another minor league rehab start soon. I don't know exactly which day that is, but that's kind of the plan for Miley. So I think he's closing in on a return from this long absence, a long stint on the IL. Maybe a little bit too late for trade deadline purposes, but
yes,
Miley's making his return. This is seemingly soon if things start going well. Yeah, I mean that's about all I got. I mean. There's one thing.
We all see Michael's comment. He never fails to crack me up at least once in a show. Last place looks good to El Cheapo.
That was a good one. All
right.
Sometimes I feel like he gets a little lazy, but that was a
that
good
was
one.
not lazy. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
And I also saw that Alzolay threw BP in Arizona, right, to Brendan Davis.
Yes, I was about to say that. I saw that on Twitter. Jed mentioned it earlier today. He said he don't know that Adbert will make it back to that he'll be pitching on a mound somewhere this season. He doesn't know that it'll be at Wrigley Field on a major league mound for the Cubs this year. That's obviously maybe not best case scenario, but at least on the better side of things, if things go well, that he could maybe get back to the Cubs at some point, but that's kind of still remains to be seen if that'll happen. As far as Kyle Hendricks had an MRI today, Jed hadn't yet, met up with the doctors to talk about it before he talked to us. But that MRI and the results from that, that's going to kind of determine whether really if he pitches again this season. I know they want him to just be healthy. I don't think they want him to push. They don't want to push him to pitch this season and risk more injury. So if the MRI says something that they should just shut him down, I think they will, and make sure that he's healthy for 2023. But as of right, as what we learned from Jed today, he hasn't seen the results yet. So I think we'll get a little bit more clarity on Kyle Hendricks' situation for the rest of the year here soon.
I gotta admit that I did not see this Hendricks injury thing being prolonged like this.
No, and it's considering he's older, it's a little more concerning moving forward. Sure.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it last week. I just don't think that you can go into next year with him as anywhere in the top 3 of your rotation. I think he'd be fine as a number 5, but I just don't think he can be anywhere near the top of it.
You don't want to count on him for that, and if you get something more, that's great.
Yeah.
And you hope you do. All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ryan. We appreciate it. Thanks for all the updates on Jason Heyward and all that was going on. Busy day at Wrigley Field. You can find Ryan's stuff, allchgo.com. Get that membership, subscribe to the YouTube, give us the likes, give us the, what else do you do?
The subscribe.
Subscribe.
To CHGO
Hammer
Sports.
The like button.
Hammer it.
Hammer the like button.
We got 17 likes, 68 people watching currently. 17 likes.
Thought we were better than that.
I thought we were better than that too, Stucky, but apparently on the day of our Lord, August 8th, 2022, apparently we're not. I feel kind of bad about that. I wish they could make us feel better. We'll see.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe
we will be back tomorrow with a post-game show. Mr. Corey Friedman's going to join in. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Corey are going to switch it out. I'm going to be at the ballpark tomorrow, and Corey's going to do my job.
Maybe you send us some updates.
Yeah.
Until they're not sober, and then skip them after that.
Maybe I'll send you a nice little ballpark photo. I'll be Corey. I'll take a picture of my hot dog, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, he's always got
the hot dog. Yeah, he's always got the hot dog tweets. And then he always tweets something related to what the view is like from the seat.
Right. He's a bragger.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast. Cubs win. They beat the Nationals. And, of course, the big news, Jason Heyward will not play again in a Cubs uniform. He'll be released at the end of the season. Thanks for watching. We will see you on Tuesday after the game. Until then, fly the W.